there are some lessons that the gaming industry can learn from Embark Games and Arc Raiders, which is wild to even say as a sentence. The lead up to Arc Raiders has been, well, it's been a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. Like, this game was announced, I think it was like 2020, 2021. It was definitely the COVID years. And then this game just went dormant, Arc Raiders, that is. And now it's just come in with this huge resurgence. And why is that? Why the sudden, why the dormant times? Well, in a recent interview with Edge magazine, the CEO went through why everything happened, why it was all delayed. And it's pretty much that they made a PvE game. It seemed to be very similar to Destiny. And they just... They like the aesthetics, they like the world they had created, they like the way everything moved, but they just said ultimately, and this is the way we review games here on this channel, is that it wasn't fun. And that was the quote, is they created a game that wasn't fun. So instead of shoving a marketing machine behind it and just trying to strap it with a rocket with a Imagine Dragons trailer and having the thing on the sphere and having Twitch players play it and all these sort of things, they went, no, like, let's just delay the release by several years and from the ground up rebuild this game. And I know that like, there are gaming studios that aren't in that situation where they can do that they can just put things on hold and pay people for another 2 years. But you can't also then just double down and stick your head in the sand and say, no, this game is amazing, this game is great, have the marketing team push it behind them, and then just find out it's not very good. The one thing, like, I always go back to is, like, Mind's Eye is a prime example of, like, the worst thing that happened to that game from a review standpoint is people were allowed to play it. Like, they protected that game so much before launch and tried to make it seem like it was better than what it was. And then once it launched, like, people eventually had to play it. Arc Raiders with the beta was so good, and the fact that they just didn't double down and release it immediately, and they were like, no, this game needs time. Like, it needs time to get to be fun and to have that longevity. You look at what Embark Studios has done with the finals. That's a 3v3 shooter that it's in its own world, and it does things quite differently. When that launched, it was okay, and it still got longevity. I think they're at season 10 or season 11, and people love it still. And new players keep coming back to it, and returning players keep coming back to it when there's new seasons. And I love that. I love that. Like, we're really starting to see from Embark Studios maybe a bit of a blueprint of how to make a game. Is that, you know, it's not for just that launch window. You can also claw back money as the game goes on, and you start to improve on things, and that's when you start to get it in people's hands, and maybe you pay a streamer to play it then. And then all of a sudden it takes off again and gets the second wind and a third wind and a fourth wind. Arc Raiders is going to do that. And I just see the gaming industry to be right now, like, unimaginative. Like, we review a lot of games here, mostly in shooters and racing genres. And I mean a lot. Like, in a month, we at least do 10 to 15. And the one thing that we keep coming across is that we keep finding games that are just like carbon copies of each other, and they're just really unimaginative, and it's just so disappointing when you're playing them. It's just it's borderline slop. And when a game just does something slightly different, it isn't just for the sake of doing it differently, but you can tell that there was a bit of love and effort that went into it, and that always sings through when I'm playing a new game or a new IP. And I found that most of the time this year, like, the better games that I played this year that we've reviewed have been the ones that have been new IPs that have done things slightly differently. Dead Zone Rogue, that's a prime example of, like, a roguelike shooter that's in its own little ecosystem. I really like that game. Like, I really like it. Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, that's another game that I really, really enjoy still. And that's, you know, it's still, they're both part of genres that exist already, but they've done their own spin on it. They've brought it into, you know, for Deep Rock, they brought it into the universe, but they didn't just rehash the same game that they had before. They didn't just make a 2 and it's just like, oh, look at this skin, look at this emote. We've got Nicki Minaj now. No, they just made something new. They made something new that people could still stay in that world, but it's new and it's different. And it just kind of launched. Like, both of them just kind of launched, and those are the games that I think that I've had the most fun with this year, at least thus far. Battlefield 6, probably a good example of a series where, you know, they pretty much rebuilt it up. Like, it lost its way. It lost its way, and it was just quite repetitive. And, you know, they've rebuilt it up. Obviously, proof's still in the pudding, but these are the things that I'm starting to see work in the gaming industry 2025 and onwards. Is just, if you give us a good game, it doesn't matter how much money you put behind it. People are going to buy it. People are going to walk with their feet. Is it Expedition 33? Not my type of game, that one, but like brand new franchise IP. Absolutely killed it this year. Why? Because it's just a good game. You just make a good game, people will buy it. People will clamor over it. And even if there's a misstep like there was with Arc Raiders, where they went too early. They went way too early with an announcement, and then the game just did nothing. And then I remember when it launched, or it was going to launch, the beta, there was some issues with the alpha. But I mean, I really don't like when people sort of, oh, the alpha didn't run well. Yeah, it's an alpha. But with the beta, where I think that starts to be more demo territory almost. Like it's a bit of a quo pro for the developer and for the players, right? It's kind of a demo for the players, and then for the developer, it's like what works, what doesn't. So it's kind of like, a yin and yang side of things on both sides. It's like your first sales pitch to a mass market, but also you get all this data back, so to make sure your launch is successful. It sung. It completely sung when this came out. And I remember before the beta was coming, it was a lot of things like, we don't want another extraction shooter, it's just another extraction shooter. People got into this world and was like, nah, I get it. It really has that intensity in it. Like I said, it's sometimes borderline, like, I wouldn't even say scary, but it is tense. It is tense, this game. And just when you do something good in that game, it's a bit of a rush. And the fact that you can play with your friends, there's so many different ways to play as well. Like, I just can't sing this game's praises anymore, and the game hasn't even come out yet. But I just think, like, reading a lot of the interviews and the fact that they really, at that point, I think when you've made a game and you've announced a game and it's not fun, a lot of people, especially in the corporate world, have to get together and make a pretty bold decision that might go against business standards, to be honest, to say, no, let's rebuild. It's going to cost us this much. You may have a board to answer to. You may have investors. You may have shareholders. But ultimately, if Arc Raiders does as well as it's probably planned to do, then the proof is in the pudding there, that if you make a really good game, that's the way to go. That's the way to go down. Now, bear in mind, when I say that they did a rebuild, it was on their game design. They still had the bones, they had the core. They realized they had something, but just the thing that they'd pivoted off to make from that house foundation wasn't fun, but they could make it fun. So yeah, like, all the credit to them. I don't think there's a lot of businesses now that would have done that. Like, you look at a lot of the big businesses now, back in the day, if you talk to the CEOs, there are a lot of moments where they had like a risk moment where, like, everything says that you should just release the product as what it is, or however, but they might have gone down a different route, and they just had a real pivot moment, and that's where the company takes off. And for Embark Studios, I think that this is where they're going to be a big player. Like, if this game takes off, they've released two pretty big games, the finals and then Arc Raiders, which could take a lot of the imagination of the summer in Australia, the winter gaming season in America. And I just think that that's amazing. Like, that's amazing that someone has come in and made a game when, like, GTA was coming out, but you've got, like, Call of Duties, you got Battlefields, and you got those sort of things. And it shows that, yeah, you can compete. You can compete with them if you release something different. If you've got an FPS shooter that is just a bit of a clone of them and doesn't do too much different, maybe the story and tone's a little bit different, but the gameplay's mostly the same, then yeah, you need to avoid them entirely. But if you've got your own thing, release it when you want to, and know that you've got the longevity of the game, that it isn't for just October the 30th when it comes out. It's also for, October the 30th in 2026 and October the 30th in 2027, as people keep playing and more content comes out. So yeah, anyway, I just wanted to make that video. I don't know why, it sort of, when I was reading it, it just kind of really hit me that you don't really hear that too much in gaming anymore. It's usually people just having honest conversations about the business and how they, just didn't, even stumbled. Even no one says that they stumbled at any point in time, or that development was tough, or this is the reason why we did this, or the reason why it was a delay. You just never hear about any of these things, and I really found it refreshing that they said, yeah, like, look, we didn't like the game that we made, so we pivoted, and we knew that we had a good core. We brought it back down to the drill bits, and then we sort of built up again. And I have a lot of respect for that, and I'm really hopeful this game takes off for that reason, because I just think it's such a good way to do things, and hopefully, like, it is a carbon copy industry. So if people do see that, they might go, oh, okay, maybe the game does need an extra 9 months or a year. Because I know, like, Rockstar does it. Like, you know, they'll go, game's not ready yet. Or I think with Red Dead, it was more that they didn't realize GTA 5 was going to be so big. But that's it. Like, some people might make that. And I saw, like, in the comments below on the article, someone did make that comment. And I was like, Rockstar's its own thing. Like, that's a different industry onto its own almost. Like, yeah, you can't add Rockstar into anything else just because when they release a game, it's a market shifter now. But yeah, just really hopeful that more people hear that call instead of just like, no, this game's great, and just triple down with it and then blame everyone else when it doesn't run well on PCs. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get some of the industry where it's at, but it's obviously just because there's restrictions from investors or the board, and then you've got marketing involved, so everything just needs to be super positive. And it's nice to just have a bit of a real conversation and a real interview for once in the gaming industry that doesn't seem to have like a false agenda, which I enjoyed. I really did enjoy. Anyway, a bit of a weirder video today. Hit the subscribe button if this did interest you. We do news videos. We also do game reviews and previews. We've got 2 coming out. We've got a kart racer and we've got the Black Ops 7 beta. So yeah, I've obviously played both of them, and yeah, you'll get my thoughts on that very shortly. Comment down below. What do you think, just in general, about everything I've spoken about? It can be anything with gaming, but I like to know what you guys think, because that's the best way how I figure out what the man in the street's talking about, or the man behind the keyboard. And hit the like button, because then it algorithms it to someone like you, and then they watch it, and then it algorithms again to someone like them that's also like you, and then they like that, and then someone like you that's like them that was like the first guy that was also you, then watches it and likes it. Yeah, you get it. Anyway, I'm Brenton. This is Redland Live. I'm going to edit this up, cut this up, and get on out of here. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. See you, and bye.